Yes.
I'm going to ask a little bit of a specific question here because I'm trying to figure out if my background fits well into any type of consulting. I have a degree in engineering, but I'm going into public policy. And I'm specifically looking at issues such as energy, the environment, and climate change. And I'm wondering if organizations then approach any consultants to look into those topics specifically for them because they don't have any in-house expertise on those. You know, you see a lot of corporations trying to address sustainability, and some obviously much more serious about it than others, and they're using it for different ways. But how are consultants involved in that process, if at all?
I know that Accenture does have a practice for like a green, or sustainability type of thing where we're hiring experts or, training experts in that, and then having that be one of our business offerings. I don't know much about it. It's not something that's housed here in Minneapolis, so that I just can't answer much more than that, other than we do have that as part of our array of business offerings.
McKinsey, I think, has invested a lot in sort of developing research or knowledge around this area. And so I don't know all the details around it, but I know, like, for example, there's this, there are these different, so what we have is the McKinsey Global Institute, and they look into sort of all the sort of economic and environmental issues that are going on, and we invest resources in understanding all the complications that are currently going on. So there's like this global abatement sort of curve that we proprietarily that we've created that a lot of countries now use, a lot of leaders use. In addition, I know in the Middle East, at least, we've done a number of projects, a number of engagements where we've helped cities develop their sort of their green focus and their vision. We've done it around the world. I think it's a pretty exciting area. I think, however, I would imagine now with all the environmental challenges there are now, that might be something that would continuously be growing, and there'd be a great need for it. So I envision that other consulting firms would also develop this sort of expertise. But it's definitely an exciting area, and I think I'm sure Deloitte, Accenture, they all have them, and they have online, I think, a ton of resources on what they've done in different parts of the world. So.
Are there other resources other than going right directly to the websites where they can get connected to finding these types of consultants? Are there professional societies or organizations that come together, or is it just a matter of going out and reading articles or blogging about this sort of topic? I mean, what sort of things can they do to help connect to finding these types of consultants?
I can take that one. Let's see. That's a good question, and one that can be answered in a number of different ways. But reach out to your network. Well, I guess that's the simplest answer. Create a network, probably at this point, is more accurate. In one of our earlier questions, actually, I was going to chime in and thought of something else. But if I ever get a reference from someone, my job isn't per se as the recruiter anymore, but if I ever get a reference, I will read that resume, no matter what. And it could be a reference from someone who's a group member of one of my LinkedIn groups that I participate in. That's something I'd definitely check out if I were you. I'm always impressed when someone requests to be linked in to me and they just finished interviewing with me or something like that. I don't necessarily connect with them if I don't feel that's appropriate at that point, but I always think that represents a level of business savvy that, well, to be honest, most people don't do that. So therefore, they're a little more tuned in. There are tons of groups out there on LinkedIn for everything. In fact, there's so many overlapping groups that you have to join about 10 different ones to make sure you get what it is that you want, because they all sound the same. But definitely do that. Go online and read blogs. Find out who the author is and see if they've published anything. See if you can connect with them on LinkedIn. I've definitely done that before on some topics that I've personally been interested in, both for myself and from a program. And it's definitely worth it. You can build connections, build some inroads. Be sure when you're communicating with them, you're very professional and respectful of their time, because everyone's going to want to know, if you've never met them before, kind of what's in this for me, what are the high points here, why are we connecting, why should I spend even 10 minutes crafting an email response to you. But they very well may. You never know. It's worth looking.
I hope this isn't heresy to the current community development that you get from the U, but I'm sure you've been talked about and told to have a plan for how you're planning your classes and what your plan strategy is for having conversations like this and going out to find a job. Great to plan. Don't get married to your plan. Meaning, take time to wander. You don't, and I don't mean wander aimlessly. I mean, if you see something that is of interest to you, follow it. To think that you know where everything is going and what it's going to lead to is to fool yourself. Now, you still want to plan and replan and replan, but don't be afraid to follow a lead in a direction that isn't exactly known to you at this point in time. You'll be amazed, surprised, and probably very pleased with some of the things that you might find. I started out by saying I got a degree in forestry. I thought I was going to sit on top of a tower and watch for fires for the rest of my life. And I don't do that today. And it happened out of a serendipitous meeting the last semester of my senior year. Nothing I was ever planning to do. I formed out of my only IT class in college. Actually, I dropped it because I hated it. And now I do IT for a living. So don't be afraid to take some risks, take some chances, and explore some things. Sometimes that perfect path isn't so perfect.
Why don't we,
Could I
Yeah,
just
go
say a
ahead.
real quick thing?
Yep.
And again, in my discipline, there's the American Psychological Association. A division of it is the Division of Consulting Psychology, which publishes journals and magazines and holds conferences actually semi-annually. So there are people who do what I do in other different places, and if you can, I think you can join at a student rate too. That is much less, and that keeps you up on what's happening in the field, who are the people that are writing, what firms keep getting mentioned, that kind of thing is useful.
excellent. So one last question, then we're going to turn over to the networking portion of it. 1 to 2 points of advice for future consultants that you may have, and we'll just kind of go down the line, but just 1 to 2 words of advice for them. And it could be anything. You're preparing for a career in such a direction.
Kick it off.
Okay.
My first is to build and use a professional network effectively. I think that's going to be very, very important for everyone going forward, whether you're a consultant, employee, you're in the business world or not, no matter what it is. Connecting with people all around the world is going to continue to gain in importance. And really, this current generation is the first one that's kind of building that. So it's not completely ingrained into corporate America yet, but all these social media and all the different ways you can connect with people is just fantastic. The second would be, especially at this point in your career, to remember that everything is a deliverable. Everything you do, that's a bad word, everything you do is an example of your work product or an example of you. Every thank you card you write, every email you send to someone, whether you're looking for a job or you're actually at a client site or you are the client and you've hired consultants or whatever it is, probably 80% of the people who meet you are going to meet you first electronically. Remember that. They're going to meet you through some random email you send that gets forwarded on to someone else or whatever it is. I think the most impressive people, I know the most impressive people I've met and who work for me recognize that. I've never seen them too casual for an event. I've never seen them dressed unprofessionally if we're professional colleagues. They've always known that everything they do and say needs to be professional and polished, to the right degree. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours crafting a thank you email, but you need to take that kind of care and thought into what it is that you do always. Stand.